Catherine Hales wrote, "In the posthuman, there are no essential differences between bodily existence and computer simulation, cybernetic mechanism, and biological organism. We're about technology and human goals." Now, in this modern age, new technology is pushing us to a transhuman future, similar to the one that she just described. My question is, what does this future look like? How close are we? And should we even cross the line into it?
Music licensing reimagined.
Hello, I'm Ashley, a computer science and cinema and digital media student over here at UC Davis. And I think this is a really interesting combination because it allows me to look at not only technology, but how it interacts with society and becomes this kind of fusion and blend, which is definitely something that we'll be looking at today. This makes the topic of transhumanism really interesting to me. I get to see both sides, the technology itself, but also the social impact. With that in mind, I want to discuss the idea of transhumanism and how it's occurring right now. I want to tackle 3 different subjects that will all come together at the end: artificial intelligence or machine learning, genetic engineering, and the video game Detroit Become Human. With these things, we'll explore how I believe we are slowly moving towards transhumanism through integration rather than replacement, as seen in AI and biotechnology. Now, at this point, I'm going to assume that we're all familiar with the concept of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all that fun stuff, because it's become such a dominant force in our lives right now that you simply cannot ignore it. But my question is, can AI bring us to a transhuman or even post-human society? Should it? And let's definitely not understate how big an impact AI is. Right now, it's being used as an incredibly beneficial tool that's being integrated into our daily lives. Whether this is to help students, doctors, professionals, you name it, it is being used. AI transforms industries in everyday life, increasing efficiency. It also has huge economic benefits. It's expected to contribute trillions to the global economy, which is crazy. The University of Chicago reports that AI brings enhanced healthcare, scientific discovery, improved agriculture, enhanced financial services, and advanced transportation, just to name a few. And just like Rodney Brooks argues, technology is entering our lives as useful companions rather than superiors. As I just said, right now AI is really being a tool that can be improved humanity as a whole, whether that is the increased efficiency on the day-to-day, to revolutionizing whole fields, to things we haven't even seen yet. In this way, we are moving towards a transhuman future, where AI is going to become more and more capable and integrated within our daily lives and society. However, with everything, the introduction of artificial intelligence has huge questions, and many of them are ethical. For example, right now, AI is being used for mass surveillance in the state of New York. Now, what does this mean for privacy? As we move towards the transhuman, does this mean that we're no longer afforded privacy? There's also its huge ecological impact. Data centers that AI needs to run need so much energy and so much water to keep it cool. This often affects people in areas around the data centers. They have to pay the price, whether that be the actual physical electric and water bill, or just not even having access to water, an essential function that people need for their lives. The Environmental and Energy Study Institute reports that data center developers are increasingly tapping into freshwater resources to quench the thirst of data centers, which is putting nearby communities at risk. Large data centers can consume up to 5 million gallons per day, equivalent to the water use of a town populated 10,000 to 50,000 people, all being used by one data center. Thinking in a more philosophical tone, AI, I argue, is reducing our ability to critical think. Critical thinking comes from putting things together, synthesizing them, seeing their differences, and coming to your own logical conclusion. AI gets rid of this by thinking for you. If we continue in this way, we're going to be in a transhuman society where AI thinks for us and nothing is going to be original, nothing will be unique, and everyone thinks the same way, which is an incredibly scary thought. Another concern is if AI becomes too powerful, almost, as in it does things that we necessarily don't need it or want it to do. My main example being AI art. In the case of art, The purpose of art is not to only improve and get better, but to show off your humanness, to show the skill and talent and unique perspective on the world that only you have. But with AI isn't a human. It doesn't have this original perspective. Getting rid of that perspective defeats the whole purpose of art. If AI takes all that away, what's the point? Art is such a uniquely human thing. To take the humanness out of it is such a devastating blow. So, in this imagined transhuman, post-human society, with AI that does everything for us, that replaces us rather than integrates with us, what's the point of anything? That's why I'm arguing that we're heading more towards integration rather than replacement. AI is leading us to a transhuman future filled with automation, but this future can look bleak if it's left unregulated and used for the wrong purposes. While it can be used to help us, there are some serious ethical concerns that still need to be addressed. I will note that people tend to overstate the use of AI and how capable it is. AI today is incredibly narrow and specialized, and it definitely needs human intervention, which makes it inherently limited. My claim is that I don't think that technology is there quite yet for a transhuman future to be right in sight. And for the foreseeable future, AI will be used as a tool rather than full-on replacement. And in this way, I agree with Catherine Hale's argument that sees humans and intelligent machines working together in a system in the post-human. For Hale's, the post-human does not mean the end of humanity. It means the end of a certain conception of the human. Essentially, in the post-human, we will be embedded within technology. Moving on to genetic engineering. Now, genetic engineering is moving us to a future where we can choose a lot about our future offspring. Britannica defines genetic engineering as artificial manipulation, modification, and recombination of DNA or other nucleic acid molecules in order to modify an organism or population of organisms. And genetic engineering has led to the production of medically important products, including human insulin, human growth hormone, the hepatitis B vaccine, as well as the development of genetically modified organisms such as disease-resistant plants. Many of the fruits and vegetables that we get in the store today are genetically modified. It has also led to gene editing, which can repair mutations in humans that cause genetic disease, which is so huge for so many people who suffer from these diseases. Now imagine this transhuman future where there is so much more control over reproduction, where we can get rid of mutations that negatively affect people's lives. I imagine that this technology can take us to a transhuman state where we can rely on technology more than natural phenomena for reproducing for us. However, with everything, the idea of gene editing has come with many ethical concerns, mainly surrounding the ideas of eugenics and making designer babies where basically you control the traits that your offspring have. And yeah, no, I fully agree that if we're given too much control over traits of humans, there's gonna be a certain dominant, homogenous type of people that emerges that's just not going to be good for anything and probably very racist. So clearly we are well on our way to a transhuman future where we're just no longer bound by nature. I argue, however, that we should proceed with caution and use genetic engineering as a tool to fight disease rather than like a tool to promote a certain type of person. Now I want to talk about one of my favorite video games, Detroit Become Human. And Detroit Become Human is a video game that really made me question and think about what it means to be human. This is incredibly relevant when discussing transhumanism because when thinking about this, there has to be the baseline of, okay, what does it mean to be a human? Now, for context, Detroit Become Human is a storytelling game that takes place in a transhuman society where human-like androids are used as servants to humanity. Plot follows 3 androids, Connor, Kara and Marcus. Marcus and Kara eventually bypass their programming and become deviants, while Connor is an android whose task is to find and hunt down these sentient androids, basically robot police. Kara escapes to protect a little girl, and Marcus uses his freedom to start freeing other androids and start a revolution. And this is what I imagine future transhumanism to look like for us. AI being put into a form that becomes an android reminiscent of what's demonstrated here. A future where many menial tasks are delegated to robots, things that aren't too important to us. Now the main focus. This game asks us what it means to be human. For these androids have the ability to act like a human, but they have no autonomy whatsoever. Marcus, Kara, and Connor eventually become human because they gain the ability to think for themselves, and that's what I believe to be the sole determining factor of their humanness. That recognition of autonomy and ability to control their lives allows them to feel emotions just like a human would and live a truly human life, and in Marcus's case, spark a revolution. And so I came to that conclusion that it's the ability to think for yourself and have that autonomy that is what makes us human. Not to mention, the whole video game brings up the idea of a robot revolution, which is another huge ethical concern. If you have something that looks like a human and sounds like a human, should it serve as a servant to us? I think it's important to remember this and keep this in mind as we move into a transhuman future with AI and genetic engineering. We need to explore some of the future possibilities and ethical concerns. Because AI can take away our ability to critically think and just think for ourselves in general, I think that if we aren't careful, it could take away our humanity. We are on a path to the post-human, whether it be through AI, genetic engineering, or the stories that we tell. We are on a path to the post-human, whether that be through AI, genetic engineering, or the stories that we tell to prepare ourselves for the ethical dilemma it poses. Now, Hayes and Brooks imagine the post-human as co-evolutionary, integrated, and not a takeover, and I'm inclined to agree. Agency will hopefully be preserved, and as long as we keep on asking these questions about ethics, about what it means to be human, about what lines do need to stay intact and what lines are more blurred. As we approach this transhuman state, it is now more than ever important to question these exact lines that we are crossing and destroying to get there.